One of the hardest things I've dealt with so far this year is trying to figure out balance for my schedule. I've talked a bit about how hard it is to fit in everything I try to do, how I'm cutting back some things and changing some others, and how I've done things to motivate myself to stay active, prioritize my health, and still get stuff done. But keeping things moving at a steady pace continues to be one of the hardest things for me to do. For a short spell in August, I had a bit where the weather was perfect for the projects I needed to do. My daughter had just returned to school, and I didn't have any pending writing projects. Then I hit crunch time for my newest book, and we reached the rainy season at the same time, and getting doll projects done got hard again. Through it all, I kept thinking about what I could work on, how I could balance those projects with shifting into some of the other things I want to start sharing, while also doing things like traveling for my first out-of-state book signing at a Barnes & Noble up north, and actually spending time with my family sometimes. Oh, and making time to rest and look after myself too. I still don't know how some people manage to do everything they do. But while I puzzled over it, I also made a big decision to get some of my dolls back out of storage. They felt less incomplete than the last time I saw them, and I realized some of them just need new outfits for me to feel good about them. And while I have some big unfinished projects and some projects I haven't even tackled yet, they didn't really seem as insurmountable as they did when I put away those dolls. But after months and months of hobby inactivity, I did notice my collection was in need of a little extra attention to make them look really put together again. Humidity is rough for alpaca wigs, and everyone is in need of a comb and a flat iron. Some dolls still don't have wigs that are just right, and making correct eyes for dolls that still needed them just served to remind me how much I dislike making resin eyes. Finding small projects that I could do in weather that's less than perfect for things like face-ups and resin printing started getting hard. And I found myself realizing that part of what made a super frequent video schedule possible for so many years was that I had a ton of little projects I could do each week. So there was always something to share in between bigger projects like creating new sewing patterns and putting them together, which is something that usually takes me a couple weeks. Now that my dolls are mostly put together, I'm not really getting new ones, and I've decided to give up the parts of the hobby crafting that I don't enjoy. What fills that gap? I guess it's all the other stuff I spend my time on, the things I've wanted to share but haven't figured out how to incorporate into things between doll projects. For example, this week has been busy getting books packed up and shipped, and last week I launched a new fairy tale, and there's no reason I can't spend those weeks talking about those things. I kept telling myself there was no graceful way to segue into those subjects after posting nothing but dolls for years. I spent most of this year thinking about how to broaden the scope and diversify what I share, and then I woke up one morning at like 5 a.m. and had the brilliant realization that the best way to share more stuff was to just post it. I promise that sounded really intelligent at 5 a.m., but it was also so obvious that I don't know why I spent so long doing mental gymnastics over how to do stuff right instead of just doing it. That probably would have been more useful. But it did help me make a few decisions about what I needed to do to get my thoughts in order. I took inventory of all my dolls and made a list of what each of them needs to feel complete and nice, as opposed to what I want to do. And it gives me a better idea of what's necessary to make the whole collection look polished again after not handling them for a long time. For some dolls, like Garum, I already have a solid roadmap for a large project. But some dolls, like Rune, really just need to be cleaned and have their wig fixed up. Some need different wigs or eyes or a pair of shoes, and that was easier to see and recognize in dolls that had been put away for a while, like Kit and Rika, who both just need a different outfit. All I have for them is their mageling robes, which are story accurate, but also not what they wear all the time either. Those clothes are only for lessons, so both of these dolls are in need of a simple dress that's more in line with what the characters would be wearing day to day. I don't need to make new patterns for these. I already have plenty of patterns designed for all. And maybe that's a great opportunity for me to shift some videos more toward project vlog type stuff, which is easier to document and share than the tutorials I've done for years. Because honestly, I know people like tutorials, but I'm running out of stuff to teach. And it's not fun to keep covering the same subjects over and over again. At some point, it's going to be easier for me to just share the patterns and show you what I made with it. And all of that should help free up time to not only share other stuff, like discussions of the doodles in my sketchbooks or the art pieces I'm working on to go with my dolls and their book characters, or ideas for new stories and things I'm doing with the older ones. I'll be able to tell you about Gil, for example, and a bit about his story, and we can discuss the eternal quandary of figuring out how to make facial hair work on dolls. I considered sharing my doll inventory now, but that's probably better for the traditional end-of-year hobby review, which will be interesting for me this year, as it sort of encompasses coming back and establishing a roadmap of how to progress, instead of sharing everything I've finished. Because unfortunately this year, I haven't finished all that much. Even after months of working on it, Vaughn's chainmail is still not done. So for now, I think the first step I need to take is picking out a lot of wigs and eyes, making sure everyone is dressed, and taking another look at my collection after everyone is tidied up. I'll probably share some of that, of course. Everybody's collection needs maintenance sometimes, and it would be nice to have you along for the ride. But right now, it's nice just to see a simple path forward and have a clear vision of what I need to do to be happy with all the dolls that are staying in my collection. Because even though I have quite a few, I honestly think all of them are still here to stay. And that's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.